We all have a story to tell. Some are just beginning, others have been unfolding for years. Welcome to the Shaman Stories Podcast. Each week, I sit down with guests to explore their journeys into spirit, the challenges, awakenings, and the moments that shaped who they are today. So take a breath, settle in, and join me as we uncover the stories that lead us back to our true selves. Okay. Welcome back to the Shaman Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy. Today, my guest is Peggy Oberthier. She's a Melbourne-based medical intuitive and energy channeler. After a life-altering experience during a prison riot, she spent the next 8 years on a deep awakening journey, exploring both traditional and alternative approaches to anxiety, insomnia, chronic pain, and IBS. This path eventually led her to a medical intuitive who helped activate her own natural ability to read and shift energy at a root level. Thanks for being here, Peggy.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeremy. I really appreciate the time.
So before we get into your journey and how you got to where you're getting, because just the prison riot alone, I have lots of questions on. But why don't you let everybody know a little bit about what you do today, if I missed something, if something's changed since the bio and all that good stuff.
Yeah, thanks. So I mostly work with clients one-on-one, and I run groups and also some meditation courses. I work with clients, helping them identify emotional, spiritual, and physical blocks that might be in their body. And I help them facilitate this release and identification and release. And I use lots of different techniques, calling in guides, sort of a non-dual reality approach, as we were talking about before we started filming. And I like to call it as this process of helping people, I guess, unwrap the gift and help them work out exactly who they are. Because oftentimes they have these layers, and I'm just like peeling off the wrapping paper and just trying to shine a light going, you actually have this beauty inside you. You have all these things. So I do a lot of gift activation as well. A lot of my clients recently have unaware of their spiritual and intuitive gifts, or because a lot of the things that come in for them around claircognizance, so that knowing. And so it gets a little bit trickier. Like, did I make that up, or is that intuitive knowing? And so I spend a lot of time working with clients that have natural channeling abilities as well, helping activate those. I do monthly group meditations. I do collaborations with 2 other healers, I guess I don't like the word healer because I like to think people are doing their own healing, but you know what I'm talking about. And so I do some meditation groups with those 2 people, and I love collaborating with people because it just really amplifies the field. It's not just double, it's like this exponential amount of work, and we kind of complement each other. Whatever abilities that I have, it's kind of like a Marvel movie. We, different characters having different abilities to tune into clients, and so that's why I really love collaboration. Right. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. I work remotely, so my clients are from all over the world, and I kind of work in all different time zones because I'm based in Australia, so I can start sessions at 7 a.m. all the way to 8 p.m. But I love the flexibility, and my days are fun.
Yes. And before we get to your journey, I'm curious on the personal gift part. Like, so are you I'm trying to think of the right way to word this? Do you know what you're activating when they come to you, or is it, is there like I don't want to downplay what you're doing at all, so I'm trying not to make it sound snarky, because that's not what I mean. But is there like a list of options depending on what codes or what you put into them? Like, if they come and say, I want to be more psychic, do you work on that? Or is it really just this is your ability regardless of what it is?
So that's a really good question. So it's kind of different for every person. So what happens is I start with literally just tuning. I just ground people. I just start with putting their feet and getting them going towards the earth. And as soon as I do that, I can feel generally straight away their feet are buzzing, my feet are buzzing, and I can feel this incredible connection to the earth. So some people, I'm like, whoa, you are super grounded. I can feel a steel rod that goes all the way through the earth. And then the messages start just coming in. I'll say, oh, wow, you you have this capacity. He said, I can tell right away, like you do a lot of grounding. Oh yeah. I said, do you work with, oh, they work with animals. I said, oh, wow. Okay. So you are, and then all of a sudden the messages just start flooding in, because I set the intention, please allow me to get information for the highest good of the client, for the highest good of, the collective, whatever is for best for divine creational service. And so it might start off with just a simple message like that, and just reminding them how grounded they are. And they might not see, like sometimes I see, and it's like the whole earth just lights up. And then I say, wow, you are actually, you have the capacity to prepare land. And they're like, oh, wow, I wasn't aware that I was doing that. I thought I was doing it. So I'm just kind of reinforcing, or they might have had other readings where people said, oh, somebody said that a couple of years ago, but I don't really say, oh, no, you are definitely doing that. And then as I move and I bring in the grounding, healing energy from the earth, and we go up, and I go through each chakra. And then sometimes I can feel the blocks, and then I'll go back to that. But when then I hit the third eye, either I can see the whole thing light up, and I just go, wow, your clairvoyance is, oh, really? I said, do you get precognitive hits? And they go, sometimes. I go, oh, okay, hang on, let's just sit with that for a moment. So I might help them tune into that. Or I see this wisdom, or they might have like full access to like all the Akashic records, or they have, I said, wow, your pattern recognition is just like next level. I said, what do you do for work? And they just say, oh, well, I'm an engineer. Or I'm like, okay. Like I said, it's just data. I said, you take lots of data, and so I help them understand what they might be doing in their regular job, and from a gift perspective. But what sometimes I say, oh, actually, I can see you have like a lens cap over your third eye. I say, like, it's like somehow either you have subconsciously blocked it, or, and then there might be implants or other things. And so what I'm doing for them at that point is I'm helping them clear subconscious beliefs around fears about accessing their full range of gifts. So it could be like related to past lives, where they might have taken a vow of like, I'm never going to use these gifts again, or, or when I use my gifts, people might die, or, right. So they have these. So as you know, this is what you do, right? So you're clearing these subconscious blocks. And then all of a sudden I can feel their third eyes getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they're going, wow. And I go, okay, now I want you to, and I start helping them just tap into what they're seeing, what they're feeling, and they're knowing. And I say, I can see you, you're in a meeting, and you're like, the answer straight away, but you can't, it's not come from a book. And then they go, yeah, that's right, that's me. And I say, yeah. I said, well, I can tell you, you're channeling, pure source information into your thought, your ideas. That's where it's coming. It's coming in channel. They're like, oh, well, I didn't really know. I said, yes. So that's how I'm kind of helping them access their gifts in that respect. And I help them, give them tools, perhaps it'd be grounding tools. Anyway, there's a whole host of things that I can help them with in one session. Obviously it's limited. And then I move to the crown. And when I access the crown, I can feel either this incredible connection to, it might be, I said, whoa, you are connected to the angels. There are so many angels. And they're like, yeah, I talk to angels. I'm like, oh my God, and I can feel this like, whoa, this presence of angels. Or it might be a galactic connection. I go, okay, there's about, there are so many galactic beings here. They're so happy that you're here. And then from there, I have, I bring in light language. And sometimes the light language just comes in, and it's a transmission for that client. They might start crying. They might go, oh, this feels so familiar. So there's codes in that. There's activation codes. Sometimes I know when I'm channeling the light language, it will come in, and the clients will, they'll say, oh, I know exactly what that is. And I go, good, because I don't know what that was. And sometimes I don't know where it's come from. Sometimes I know it's Arcturian. Sometimes it's from a different galaxy. Sometimes the channel beings that come through, there might be like a very clear message where it's just coming in as spoken words. And I say, well, that's Mary Magdalene. And like, oh, Mary Magdalene's my guide. I'm like, okay, well, she's here. So that's how it works. And then through that process, they are strengthening their connection. I might be clearing implants from their crown. Again, there might be just fears, past lives, blocks, And then, of course, then there's, childhood memories of possibly having, visions or messages or visitations where that's just embedded some fear in them and they'd shut that down. And they might have had spontaneous light language as a child and their mother was like, don't speak that. And so they have all these associations. So we unpack the layers. So what I love is it's like this beautiful gift that's just kind of presented in front of me. And I'm like, let's peel off this ribbon and then look at this present in the middle. And they're like, oh, okay. So that's what I help people do. And more of my clients have that presentation. But really I help them understand that it's really based from their heart space, that they have this beautiful heart, that they have lived a life of not holding on to resentment, this forgiveness, this kindness, this integrity, this authenticity that has just allowed them to, it's just strengthened their connection to their own spiritual gifts. And that's what I keep saying, like, and they have a lot of them have just like no ego, they're just have this beautiful heart space. And I go, your heart is so big. I can feel this resonance. It just goes like, it just touches my heart. I can feel that. And I just go, wow, you're just so beautiful. And I can feel their energy. And then I didn't know. I had no idea. Like, yeah. You're a badass. You're next level, So that's the kind of work that I've been, that I like to do with people. So that's how it shows up for me. So we clear, and help them identify the difference, between like what their claircognizance is, and then they have this analytical brain that comes on top of it and questions. And I go, no, that first thing that came in, right, when you're in that state, that's correct. So that's what I do. I hope that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Like I said, I was not trying to be snarky with the question at all, because I'm always curious how different people do different things, right? So it's like, what's your modality to get in there? Because I get people all the time where it's like, I don't know my life purpose. I feel like I should be a healer, but I don't know which way to go. And that's really what started this podcast, because I was like, all I can do is tell you what I do, right? Like, here's how I work. We can do a session. You can get a feel for it. Does that feel right to you? If not, cool. How about somebody else? Because I believe we're all touching the same source. We're all working with the same energy. We just have different ways of doing it. And that's
correct.
Fine. So it's what works best for you. Where are you stronger at? Where are you weaker at? Do you like more of a ritual? Do you want to just kind of tune into somebody? Do you want to do a little bit of both? Like, I can't tell you which way to take it. And when I do soul retrievals, I'll bring back a gift for their soul as well. Oh. And I tell them all the time, it's like, this gift doesn't mean it needs to be your job. It just means this is something you should be doing for your soul. This will make your soul happy. And it could be a child's bouncy ball. It could be a deck of tarot cards. I've brought back like a ball of energy and all these random things. And to them, it makes perfect sense, where they're like, oh yeah. When I was a child, I used to have a ball just like that. Or when I was a child, I used to love dancing, and I brought back a pair of dancing shoes, and I have no clue anything about them. But those things happen a lot too, where it's, you can go down this path, but you don't necessarily have to do it to service the world. Just working on yourself is also enough. And I think that's what a lot of people don't focus on.
Correct. And I love that. And your story's giving me goosebumps. It's just so beautiful of being able to bring back these little sparks of joy, really is what they are. Right. So I love that. And I think, a lot of the people that I'm working with, they're engineers, some of they're doctors, surgeons, CEOs, I'm just helping them highlight this gift of what they're doing. And the fact that they are working so on themselves creates this, this vibration and frequency, as you know, this, it's just that space of pure authenticity, and just helping them just feel good about them being their authentic selves. and saying, no, this is amazing. Your authentic self is amazing. I know it's totally different to everybody. I know you can tell when people are lying, and it creates this contraction in your body, and it's so frustrating. And so I help them understand, their path in the world. And sometimes it's been very challenging because they feel so different to everybody else. And they're going to know that you are just this pillar of like integrity and authenticity. And that is actually very powerful in the field of what you do, whether it's just smiling at a shopkeeper,
Yep.
whether it's making a sandwich for your child. There's this beautiful love frequency in that sandwich, and that child is eating that. Like, it doesn't have to be, healing people or hands-on healing. It's just we just want everybody to vibrate in their authentic selves and feel good about themselves. And then it just, emanates this beautiful frequency for healing for the planet.
And like you said, because there's different ways of healing, right? It's my father, like, he was not interested in any of the shamanic stuff when I was talking about it. I'm like, it's cool, no problem. But then after he died a few years ago, like, all of these people from around the world, because he traveled a lot, being in the military and then working for the government, and he would travel around and he met all these people, and is like, looking back at his life, I'm like, that man was a light worker in his own way,
Oh yeah, that's
because
giving
he
me
was
goosebumps.
constantly helping people. Like,
Oh,
oh, you need a place to stay? Come sleep on my couch. Oh, you need a ride home? I'll come pick you up. Oh, you need help with your resume? I'll help you with that. Oh, you need to go build something? I'll help you with that. He was that person that was constantly helping others, not
yeah,
necessarily through hands-on healing, but through communication, friendship,
yeah.
love.
Yeah, his voice feels very powerful for me. Like, when you speak about your dad, I can feel this, like, when I tune into him, he has this frequency in his voice that feels very calming and soothing. And it's like this vibrational frequency. So sometimes when I work with a couple of doctors, and I say, look, I said, your voice is healing in and of itself, and that is actually has this beautiful, powerful, frequency. And obviously it's coming from the open heart, that kindness. But some people have such healing power in just when they speak. So that's what I was saying. So you don't have to be, as a teacher, you could just be up there teaching.
Yep.
You could be teaching math, but you have this vibration, and you're teaching, you're there in divine service, and your voice is calming and soothing, and all the kids are like, they want to listen to you. You give this unconditional love and unconditional positive regard, and it just helps people just heal, essentially. So it's not like everyone has to be like putting their hands on people and fixing whatever. I think everyone's doing their own work within their own fields in a beautiful way. They're just not aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
I have this one beautiful client, and I said to her, oh, wow, because she's a surgeon. I said, your infection rate is 0. I can tell you that right now. She says, this is true. I said, that's because your vibration is so powerful as you're operating. It's healing there's no infection. She says, oh, this is true. I said, I bet you all your medical students say, why do you have a 0 infection rate? And you just can't answer it. I said, it's your frequency, and she's like, oh, okay. So it's like, when you start to highlight these gifts that people have, then they can be a bit more intentional about it. Right. And I said, without ego, these people are not, their egos are not going to get blown up, whatever the word is, because I can tell the information comes in channeled exactly how they're supposed to hear it. Does that make sense? So I just open it up and let it come out. And when it comes out, it lands in a way that's supposed to land for them. So it's not like she's, going off and thinking she's like, this God's gift to surgery. Like, she's not like that at all. So I'm just trying to help her. Like, you're doing way more than you realize within your field. So that's kind of beautiful privilege to be able to tell people how wonderful they are. I love that part. And then we have to unpack some of the childhood wounds.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go there. And some of the things that are holding them back from stepping into their true confidence or their voice. We spend a lot of time helping these beautiful people access their authentic voice. But we do it in a gentle way, in a trauma-informed way. And I try to have a bit of fun too, because the Earth Game's not supposed to be so serious, right? So I try to and I talk about past lives a lot, but I don't like telling people details, because I don't know about you, but people just cling to that stuff, right? They go, well, the reason I'm like this is because I was, I'm like, no. Don't identify yourself as a victim or suffering. So I just go, it comes through. And if the detail I think is going to be there for comic relief, then I'll say the detail, but otherwise I just talk about general themes to help them understand their journey today. I say, well, I can see you in different lifetimes and this has happened. And so I can understand why you might be like this. And they go, yeah. So, but if I was to say, well, you killed all these people, then the guilt and the shame, I don't like saying stuff like that. It doesn't serve, I don't think, unless they really beg me and I go, you really want to know? But I try not to go there.
I do that a little bit differently, especially with soul retrieval work. I go down and, whatever the issue is that we're working on, anxiety, depression, it could be doesn't matter what we're working on. And I do a journey down to the lower world, and I go to 4 chambers. And one of the chambers is the chamber of wound. And it's really like a quick, this is what happened. So it could be, I had one client who, she was a child in a past life and the mother shot the father. And it was like a whole thing, trauma right there. Another time it was a guy was a sergeant in the military. It looked like it was like World War I, World War II. His whole unit died because he listened to orders from his captain, even though he knew it was wrong. And he was like, this isn't going to work, but he didn't feel like he had a choice. So he had a lot of regret from that soul part. But then I go into the chamber of grace where I find that soul part from that life that separated during that moment of trauma. And I'm like, okay, do you want to come home now? And I bring that piece back. And so I don't go into full detail about everything, but it's like a quick synopsis of, I saw this, this, and this. Here's the soul part. Now you're going to have a conversation with this soul part and see what it's here to bring you, what teachings, what gifts. And then you're going to integrate that soul part for the next month and make yourself complete. It's not just, this stuff happened. It's okay. Now we're going to bring back these pieces that were missing because of what happened.
Yeah. So it's more intentional. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So it's a bit more of a usually a really embodied process. Yeah. Pardon?
There's usually a contract involved too from whatever happened.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And so then it's ripping up that contract and then having them rewrite a new contract. So it's like a month of integration and intention to really complete, what was lost. Yeah. And then bringing back that gift for them to know about for their soul as well.
Wow.
It's having them have a conversation with each part.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a beautiful process. Yeah. I just clear the contract, but yeah, I like that. I like that. I think for some clients there is, especially when the theme runs through this lifetime very strongly, and they have intellectualized and understood and forgiven. Like a lot of my clients are so spiritually advanced and have this beautiful understanding of the soul's journey, but the energy is still stuck wherever it is stuck. And so then I say, well, this is not the first time this has happened. You can see that this happened, where I can see you as a leader of whatever, a troop or, and you've taken all the blame, like the village burnt down and you're like, this is all my fault, and there's just like disproportionate amount of blame, that anyway. So there's not a month-long integration, but I really like that. I love that. It feels very thorough and healing and sort of cathartic for for the
And
client
I
to.
don't think one way is necessarily better than the other. There are times where we're just bringing back soul fragments and soul pieces where we don't need to do the integration. It's just we've lost so many chunks over these many lifetimes that we,
Oh,
where it's just sometimes we're just bringing back. It just looks like a ball of energy, and it's just coming back into the person's field, and there's no explanation because it's not a. I call it a master aspect. So it's not one of those larger ones with the story. It's more, oh, I almost
yeah.
got into a car accident and a piece of me broke off, but just never made its way back, or something minor
Mm,
like that, where
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
perceived trauma or the real trauma. Sometimes the parts
Yeah.
come back, sometimes they don't.
Yeah. And I think when you're working with clients that have that deep depression, anxiety, PTSD, and they have a lot of shame, it
Mhm.
really helps just frame it in a way. It's like, hang on, like, this is not just from this lifetime.
Yeah.
You've been, so I think, yeah, it's quite beautiful for them to understand that there's just been this long journey and perhaps it's some ancestral stuff. And in fact, I do work a lot with ancestral patterns and beliefs and, those imprints, they really get embedded into people's, energy
Oh yeah.
body. So I do a lot of ancestral clearing in that, in my work with clients as well, which is really important work, I think. Because we just take on all these programs through our DNA. So it helps it just kind of contextualizes their own situation as not just theirs, as this inherited shame, guilt, martyrdom, suffering, lack, all these programs that, some of these people have tried for years to help shift this stuff. And it's like, well, hang on, we're going back generations here. You're clearing your karma for your ancestors. And this has been hard work.
All right.
Let's help your soul today. Yeah. So it's privilege work. That's what I do.
Nice. So let's go to the beginning. What I mean, I mentioned in the intro the prison riot, but did you always feel you were intuitive? Did you always feel you had some gifts? I mean, maybe you didn't know it at the time, but looking back, maybe you saw moments in time where you're like, oh yeah, I should have known.
Yeah, it's funny. I caught up with one of my friends a couple days ago, and we played basketball together when we were 16, and she was reading this journal entry, and she said, Peggy, you brought this like how psychic are you quiz to this basketball tournament, and we all did it. And I was like, oh my God. So I think I've always had intuition because I could read people, and you could tell when people are lying and all that. But then you can't really you can't prove that, right? You just have knowing inside you. And I used to, but I was like, I studied politics, history, and religion at university, and ended up becoming this atheist by the end of it because I just thought there's no God that would allow all this suffering in the world. I just thought, no way. And I had this sort of Buddhist professor, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. There's no God. It's just this enlightenment. So I really became, I guess, agnostic and I was pretty entrenched in that belief system for all of my 20s and all my 30s and 40s. Like it was just, that's it. You die. Like my mom passed away when I was 25, and I was like, that's it. She's dead. There's no afterlife. And because I grew up Catholic, my mom was pretty anti-Catholic by the end of her life. Well, anti-church, right? The whole system, very patriarchal in her mind. And so by the time I was in my mid 40s, I was curious, and quantum physics sort of came into my field. And I'm like, really? Is that energy can either be destroyed or created? And I'm like, okay. And then this guy told me his near death experience when I was 40, like probably 45. And it was so clear and so visceral and so and this guy was telling me the truth. This guy I worked with, and I really respected him. And he was just like this really intelligent, creative, beautiful guy. And I thought, wow, there has to be this. And so I went down this rabbit hole, listening to all these near-death experiences, and more so to feel like I could connect to my mom, who has passed away. And so then 2 years after that experience, I got caught up in this prison. So I worked at a juvenile detention center, and over the course of a couple of years, I kind of lost control of the boys and the guards. So the guards lost control. And I was a teacher in the school within the prison. And, these boys broke out of a classroom. I had to like hide in a closet. They took chairs and brandished weapons and smashed every window in the education building. And they were never really interested in targeting us, the teachers. Because we just had this thing where it's unconditional positive regard. You didn't want to do something. We just tried to build rapport and use, sort of a trauma-informed approach to teach them. But I had to hide in a closet, and it was pretty awful. And this is where I knew my clairvoyance. Because I could read the room, and I could read energy within the prison, but I couldn't. So I could go onto a unit, and I could see who was mad at who was like in a bad mood. I could just see all the energy, and I would just like say, I got to get out of here. And I would just walk out, and I'd say, no, don't go onto the unit. It's off. And they're like, oh, what's happening? I said, just don't go on. And then a couple hours later, something would happen. So I guess my intuition, and I worked with this psychiatrist, weekly meetings, and I would have these knowings about the kids. And I would say, I'd have just, I thought, I just listened to educational podcasts or psychology podcasts. And she'd say, oh, no, your intuition is really good. So I guess looking back, I'd get these knowings that I didn't know what it was. And I could also, I used to have this party trick with my kids where they'd show me their yearbook from school, like when they were primary school. And I'd say, and I could just tell what kind of kid they were in school. I go, oh, she's really shy. Oh yeah, Ma, how do you know? I go, can't you tell? But I could look at a kid's picture and describe his personality. So that was always a bit, that was pretty much all the intuition that I really knew about. Fast forward to the prison riot, I really ended up in a dark space because it was my whole world. It was all like external validation of self-worth, which was like overgiving, super mom, just suffering as a status symbol, as Brene Brown talks about it. Just like, and my body was broken. My nervous system was shot from just being in fight or flight all day in the prison. I didn't really realize that that's what was happening, but it was a really, I loved the work, but it was really, really challenging. And of course I got put into the unit with all the, the sociopaths and I shouldn't say, people with severe, severe trauma. And so I was with the most scariest, juvenile, huge boys, working with them. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. But my nervous system was not okay. And I broke down. And I ended up seeing this psychic who my friend referred me to her. And she just said she knew everything about me. And I didn't tell her anything. And I thought, how in the heck does she know that? So that's what got me through. I went down this rabbit hole of like listening to all these podcasts of psychics and channelers and you name it, shamans. And I wanted to just devour all this information. And I went from different psychic to cranial sacral therapy to, healers and Akashic Records readers. I was just trying to get anyone to help me. I knew I had this, this trauma in my body and I just wanted it out and I could intellectualize it. But I just wanted I just wanted it gone out of my system. It took a long time. It took a really long time. I did a couple of retreats and ended up seeing this medical intuitive about 2 years ago because I got to a certain point, but I couldn't get past this knee pain that I'd had. And I had this 3-hour session with him. And at the end of the session, he was like, Peggy, you're a medical intuitive. I said, what are you talking about? He said, no, you have all the gifts. You can do what I do. And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then he brought me on one of his calls a couple of days later. And I just never scanned a body. And because it comes in as a claircognizance, it comes in as a knowing. I didn't know. I said, oh, is it pain in your left knee? Yeah. I said, oh, and then I would just get this, I was like, oh, I can see like this octopus around your knee. So I would see these entities as like scorpions, octopuses, and that's how the early visualization sort of came in. And then we would just remove them, and then their pain would go away. And so I mentored with him for about 11 months, sort of like this traineeship where I was being brought on calls, and then I started taking clients on my own, and that's my journey essentially.
And so I guess just for clarity, how would you define medical intuitive versus a regular intuitive? Because there's many different types of quote unquote intuitives.
Well, I guess, medical intuitive was really kind of scanning your body, but I don't see the body in a 3D. I don't really see any difference between intuitive and medical intuitive. I just see energy as stuck. I just see stuck energy. And I guess in fact, I'm redoing my website and rebranding about how I want to view myself, because I don't seem to get clients that are there like, I've got this lump in my stomach, because I can't diagnose, right? Like I put that very, very clearly. There's medical disclaimer. I can't diagnose and clear, but the people most of my clients are very spiritually aware, and they have this understanding of energy and chakra systems and stuck emotions, etc. So I'm really working at that level. I guess a medical intuitive is somebody that sees physical issues as manifestations of emotional energy in base, and that can be cleared in an energy perspective rather than, but sometimes I might get information around, mold, or there's like, the information comes in and saying like, you're actually super sensitive to glyphosate. I mean, a lot of us are, but, or I might get information about the lymphatic system, or, and then I go, medical disclaimer, go and see a doctor. And so I will get hits of going, oh, wow, your iron's super low. And they go, oh yeah, I need to take my iron tablets. I said, well, you haven't taken your iron tablets, but that information doesn't come in. It's just whatever comes in for their highest good, for their optimal vitality. I suppose that's how the information comes in for me. So, and I suppose a lot of intuitives are working in that space anyway. It's just, that's how the information comes in. My mentor was a medical intuitive, my original mentor. I think energy healing, or energy intuitive, or energy channeler, or it's hard to, I'd like you, shaman's really clear, and, it makes sense to a lot of people, but I don't have that. You think, oh, well, I don't have that lineage. So I guess for me, it's just around finding the right terminology that helps people understand what I'm helping them identify.
No problem. Yeah, I was just curious, because I've always seen like, the medical medium, the medical intuitive, and it's like, well, are you only focusing on physical elements, or is it just, I mean, it doesn't sound like you are. It sounds like somebody can come to you, and then it's like anything you want to work on, you're going to work on. You're going to take intuitive messages in from either your guides, their guides, the galaxy, any number of sources where you pull your information from, and then you're going to work on them. And it could really be, my knee is hurting because of something that happened 3 lifetimes ago. That's
absolutely correct. That's a very strong possibility. And so, and the other thing is that sometimes people come to me with particular physical elements. I go like, I really want to help with this. And then the whole session might be about their throat chakra, and it has, it's got nothing to do. But then I say, okay, well, actually it is related, because the energy is not moving up. And so everything's getting stuck, or, or they might have, I prefer to work with knowing nothing about the client, and then I just get the hits, and then I just say, oh, do you have thyroid issues? Yes. Or do you have a digestive? I said, oh, look, your it feels like your left knee is holding something, and they go, yeah, my left knee bugs me. And I said, okay. So it works, they might come in for something specific. And I might just spend the whole time working on their crown, because that's what their higher self wants me to do. I did have a client who had this issue with her feet, and, she hadn't been able to walk for, I don't know, 20 or 30 years without pain. And it was past life related. I spent the whole time just helping clear all this life. And she was able to walk like without pain for the first time in 20 years. So that's something very specific that helped, that that's the kind of stuff I love when people have. I don't just say I love when people. It feels quite satisfying to be able to help people with pain. I think that's the. Yeah, but again, you might come in with pain for something, and I just have to work with the energy that comes in, and because I always say whatever for your highest good, so it might be something completely different to what you came in for.
And trust, to me, it makes perfect sense, obviously, but for some people, it might not, who have never experienced it. But even if you do Reiki training, they tell you the same thing, because I'm a Reiki master as well. That was like my entryway into a lot of this stuff. But it was, don't fixate on what's actually hurting. Just focus on channeling the energy and letting it go where it needs to go. Because like you said, like you could have a knee pain, but it might be because your throat's blocked or your heart's blocked, or you have some deep-seated issue in your crown that needs to be cleared from a different trauma or something you don't even remember. And so if we fixate too much on the actual issue, it can cause it to not work as well, because we're directing our intention to the wrong spot instead of just letting it flow. We're supposed to be, we're called hollow bones. We're just supposed to just let it flow through and just let it be, and not fixate on the outcome. Just let source, guides, whatever, any label you want to put on it, and source energy, just let it flow, let it go where it needs to go. Like,
I love that. That's exactly correct. And I think, and it's a good reminder, like every single person, if you're not attached to the outcome, you have this, like if you set the intention that you want to, let's say you want to clear my pain in my knee, but then you just let go of attachment to the outcome. And oftentimes you're going to have this result that's even better than you even imagined. You didn't even know. And that's with all manifesting and everything. It's just, and I try to, and as soon as I get attached to the outcome, I'm out of alignment in the session. I can't actually be attached to the outcome. I can't be attached to wanting to please anybody or to fixing I just have to just be 100% just in alignment, going, whatever is in divine, good, if the highest good for that client. And if nothing comes through, but I just have to just trust. I mean, obviously things will come through when you're in that space, but you have to just let go. And that's I like to put that, tell my clients, let's just let go of attachment. Because when we resist and we really want something, it creates this field around that prevents it from releasing. It's kind of like, when you say, I really want to release this anger, it's like, well, you're fighting against this anger and you're resisting the anger within you. So first step is to say, actually, let's just allow ourselves to feel anger. No, I hate anger. I don't like anger. Okay, well, let's allow ourselves to hate anger. Like, just allow whatever feeling about the feeling to be there. So, okay, even though I hate this, it's okay to hate anger. It's okay to not want to have anger. And then I'm allowed to hate my anger. And all of a sudden, this softening happens. I can feel the energy come off them. And then you can say, okay, I'm allowed to let this go. Or like, let's release this anger from wherever. And then boom, it goes. So it's like, I feel like any kind of attachment to really wanting something just creates this inherent resistance. That's no good.
Yeah, I call it desire.
Heart. Yeah. That's right. Desire.
Yeah, desire work. It's, what is it that you're truly trying to get? It's, oh, you want $1 million? Cool. Why? Is it just because you're in debt? Is it because you want a new house? Is it because you're trying to take care of your mom? What is it about the $1 million that matters? If I get money, then my dad will love me. If I get money, that means I've made it in this world. Where can we shift those dynamics? It's not obviously about the money at that point. And then it's, or I want to go to Italy. Cool. All right. Let that be your goal. Now, does it matter how you get there? Does it mean you need to get a second job offer that pays you more money, that allows you to travel to Italy? Does it mean you might get a job offer that's going to station you in Italy? Does it mean you might get a contest on the radio that gives you 2 free tickets to go to Italy. Like, neither one of those are wrong. You still get to go to Italy. So it's, don't worry about how you're getting there. Just, focus on what it is that you truly want and why you want it. And then those manifestations will happen a lot better than, oh, I need more money. Cool, here's $1. Or the universe lets you find a quarter on the ground. You got more money. It's not exactly what you had in mind, though, but you still got it.
Mhm.
So it's always
Yeah.
going to give you what you want. But if you're not true about what you want, you're not going to like what you get, is what I've been finding.
Yeah, that's really important to remember. And I think the same works with like any kind of physical pain or
Yep.
chronic pain in our body. It's like, a lot of clients, if as we know, we hold on to tension or anger, but it might manifest in our neck pain or whatever. And it's like, oh, hey, then they feel bad because the anger starts storing their neck. And I'm like, no, your neck's done this amazing thing. It's a beautiful technology for you to avoid feeling a feeling. Like, let's just thank our painful neck. And it's done a wonderful job because you don't like anger. So it's gone in your neck.
Yep.
So I try to help create this less of the resistance to what is, in that softens. And it's one of the steps around dealing with chronic pain and kind of the acceptance. Hard to do
Right.
because when you're in the throes of it, it's like it's very hard to not feel like a victim and identify with the suffering, and because it's what's happening. But I don't like to spiritually bypass it. Let's talk about those feelings first, and then allow them to release, and then from there.
And they might not even realize they're holding on to anger. That's the other part, right? And
Yeah.
that goes back to the outcome, right? Because it's all their focus is on is their neck pain or their knee pain. They're not realizing that they've been suppressing their emotions for 20, 30 years. And that's why their neck doesn't get any better no matter what they do. And so when you
Yeah.
start talking about the emotions, they're like, what are you talking about? I'm here for my neck. Focus on my neck. Put your little woo-woo in me and fix me. And you're like, I'm trying, but we got to work on this.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I only see pain in the body, aside from like an injury. But even then, there's some kind of medical physical reason. But anyway, that's another issue. But it's all related to emotions. Like that's what I mean, or past lives or ancestral patterning. Like it's just this
Which has
subconscious.
emotions tied into all of that. I mean,
Yeah.
emotion is the root of it. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
ancestral burdens we carry. They were put there because of some strong emotion.
Yeah.
Soul loss happens because of a strong emotion. Soul fragmentation because of a soul, or because of a strong emotion. All of it is based upon usually a traumatic event filled with a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
I've honestly yet to see a soul loss happen because they had a good day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm
that's
so
not
happy
gonna
I'm
happen, is
leaving my
it?
body. It's never happened.
Yeah. And I guess this whole human experience is just around feeling emotions and feeling sensation in the body. That's why we come here for this earth game, is this rich in, dense, like, the shakiness in the body, the crying, the tears, the intensity of emotion. We forget that that's what we're here for. That's what we wanted to experience. So I know, because the joy feels more joyful when you've had this suffering, and the two extremes, the paradox of the human experience. It's something I have come to terms with, myself, and holding on, being able to express the feeling, but not holding on to it, and that just kind of then releases. That's your sort of path to enlightenment, isn't it? Understanding that can just be fleeting.
Yeah, feelings are great. We want the feelings. We want to cry. We want to laugh. We want to be sad. We want to be angry. All of those are perfectly healthy. I mean, I see clients after a loved one dies, and I'm doing the death rites and moving on their spirit to the ancestral plane, and they're like, okay, now I want to work on my grief. I'm like, you need the grief. Feel the grief. When it becomes too much, then you're stuck in the emotion, and then we can talk. But when
Mm,
it's fresh and just happened, you gotta go through the emotion. You gotta have those
mm,
feelings. We just don't want to get
mm,
stuck in the emotion, and then we're depressed and sad and
mm.
disappointed or anxiety, and then we're stuck in that for months and months, if not years. We don't want that. We want to just feel and move on. And if something comes on that triggers you again and you get sad, that's okay. Just let it
Yeah.
flow, let it happen, cry. I was going through my text messages when I switched over my phone, and all of a sudden, like something from my dad sent me, and it was like 3 years old. And I'm like,
Oh,
oh, damn it. I'm
oh,
having those feelings, I'm processing, then I'm moving on. I'm like, all right,
no.
keep the message in my phone and just move on. But I didn't spiral out of control and start drinking and going through everything. It was, oh no, this is sad, but then I'm also remembering the good times. It's having those feelings and being okay with it. And it's
Yeah.
here in the West, it's a lot harder, especially for men, to
Yes.
be able to do that and process and let it go. Women, I mean, it's cliche, but you're expected to be more emotional or too emotional, even though that's not necessarily the truth. It's just you can process your emotions better than we can because we've always been
Mm.
taught just shove it down, put it in a box, and ignore it.
Oh,
Move on.
exactly. Yeah.
It's
And especially shame and guilt. I mean, nobody says, "All right, let's I feel so much shame from today. Can I tell you about what I did? Because I've got so much shame." Like nobody people don't even want to bring that stuff up with their
yeah.
therapist, let alone yeah, so that's a it's and guilt as well. It's embarrassment, regret. They're hard ones. Those are the ones that I see stuck. It's
Mhm.
like, the ones that are stuck are not, like my grandma died when I was 9. It's never that. Like the messages that I get, it's like you're 9 years old and you have this like I don't know what it is. It's like a fear or it and people try to go, oh well, well our house got robbed. I'm like, no, because that's an okay when let's say your house gets robbed when you're 9, everyone is allowed to feel afraid. People feel afraid. That's like, it's kind of like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm scared, mommy, I'm scared. And then the mom just reassures you, generally in a household where there's not a lot of dismissive. But it's usually like you're at school, um, somebody like does something to you and you just shove that fear down because you don't want to be embarrassed. You want to, it's like you're not allowed to feel afraid.
Yeah.
Anytime where a person is not allowed, stifles down something, right? That's where I see that the emotions get stuck. So like the grief of having to move because your partner is got a job in a new city. That's a kind of grief that's really tricky because you have to leave your whole life. You're doing it to make the family better, but then there's this part of you,
The
then you
resentment.
just go, well, it's a resentment, yeah, or and you just go, well, I just have to go, and like, but you don't allow yourself to feel those feelings
Mhm.
of that of what because it's the weird ones where our society doesn't really have clean sort of pigeonholes for what this sort of means.
Yeah.
That's what I feel gets stuck a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, even the simplest ones is, a young girl coming to the age of puberty, starts dressing a certain way, and then starts feeling the shame of the eyes of men looking at her.
Oh, awful.
That's a whole different dynamic for women that I've noticed recently. And, with men, it's that shame and guilt of not being enough to support their family or not being able to
Oh,
take care of everything. Uh, and I'm not saying women don't have that either, but it's more common themes within men, and then it's more
one.
common themes within women with, the way you're dressed or the clothing, because especially for a young girl, it's now you're understanding what those looks mean versus
Yeah,
when you were 5, you're just running around in your underwear and nobody cared. Now
yeah,
you're 14 and you look like you're 18 and guys are looking at you that way. It's a whole different dynamic.
yeah,
And so there's
yeah.
there's a lot of shame I've seen in clients around stuff like that. And then with men, it's really that shame and guilt of not being able to give their kids everything they want or support their spouse in a certain way, or to
Yeah.
even be able to be on top of everything like we're told we're supposed to. It's that ingrained
Mhm.
shame and guilt that both sides have. It so many different layers, so many different tiers.
Mm,
These are just two very basic examples, but I can see
mm.
that those cause a lot of issues with what I've seen in people.
So many issues. Yeah. I think that the male inculcation of this sort of programming of like, I'm only good if I'm providing. And I think even young kids now, and like there's so much emphasis on, this viral TikTok thing, oh, 6'5" in finance. And I only want, these Gen Zs and millennials that are just like, oh, he has to earn this amount and I need to be this. And they're very materialistic and they want these holidays, it all has to be Instagrammable. It has to be like, it's this consumerist, like the pressure is ridiculous for these poor boys. It's like, girls don't want to date them if they don't have like a six-figure job. And it's like, what about their beautiful heart? What about their integrity? What about their just kindness?
Or the
Yeah, I
mom
feel it.
jumping off if the house isn't perfectly clean and dinner's on the
Yeah,
table. The
yeah,
kids have
yeah.
everything they've ever wanted, and nobody yells and screams at each other. And like the perfect, like you said, Instagram, Facebook life where,
Mm,
brand new clothes and everybody's outside and nobody's looking at their screens and nobody's doing this. And
mm.
everybody's just perfect saying please and thank you. And it's just not realistic life at
No, it
all.
isn't. Yeah, it's I hopefully it'll change. I mean, and everyone's captions are all AI and it's all just feels very fake a lot of the times. I struggle with Instagram, posting
Yeah.
on Instagram. Yeah, it's tricky.
It's, I mean, it's a slow change. I mean, people are going back to, and I don't know if it's just because it's the trendy retro thing, but it's like people are ditching the smarter phones, going back to the flip phones. I've seen kids walk around now with tape decks, cassette Walkmans on. I'm like,
Why?
okay,
Wind that stuff up. Like it's gonna get caught. It's gonna get ruined, and then you won't be able
CD
to hear it a
players
third
in their
time.
pocket, getting rid of the MP3s, going back to records. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's that, and that goes back to the desire. It's like, what do you want in a relationship? Do you want somebody who can provide for you, care for you, love you, be a partner to you? Or do you want someone who just makes a lot of money and lets you do whatever you want?
yeah,
Because you can have that, but you might not have the love. Or you can have the love and you might not have all the money. Or you might have enough money to have everything you need and truly want without having millions of dollars in the bank. Because most people who are making millions of dollars probably have a lot of childhood trauma that they have not yet addressed. And there's a
yeah,
reason why they're so highly functional. And you might not be at the top of their totem pole of things they need to take care of versus just throwing money at you. So,
yeah,
do you want love or do you want money? Is you can have
yeah.
both, but it doesn't happen at that level that consistently.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it might change in the future. Maybe those millionaires will come and see us, Jeremy, and we can help them.
Well, and I mean, and it's one of those age things too, right? A 20-year-old isn't going to have a six-figure job right off the bat. Like
Mm.
maybe if they're lucky or they had nepotism and their parents brought them into the company. But I was 20 years old making like $600 every 2 weeks, back in the early
Yeah.
2000s. My rent for my apartment was $200 and I had enough to do what I
Wow.
needed to do.
Yeah.
And then my wife at that point, we're still together. Now I'm making way more money, but we're not rich by any means, but we're doing a lot better than I was in my 20s. But that's the journey. It's the
Yeah.
process. Like
That is
you
the
don't
journey.
start out as the TikTok superstar either. You got to do those. You got to put in the work, those videos every day, every day. And it's the same with healing. You got to work on yourself every day, slowly but surely. It's not
Yeah.
a one-day session.
Yeah. I think that's one of the misconceptions is that when people come and see people like us, sometimes they just want us to like take it all away. It's like, oh, I wish I could. I wish I had a magic wand. I can't. Yeah. I mean, personally, my own journey, it's taken a lot of years and it's still like, it's so interesting when I work in a group. sometimes it's like these shared past lives we're all releasing together that we can only release together as a group,
Mhm.
that we wouldn't have been able to do individually. So that's what I really love, group meditations and group courses or containers, is that there's like this, I'm like, wow, we were all in the same, wow, we were all in the same galaxy, or what, it's pretty cool. And then we are clearing the collective wound that we have together from that particular life. It's never, ever random. It's really, and somehow there is a frequency within those people and their souls and my soul. Like there's this beautiful synergy, and then there's, an amplified release. So yeah, that's what I love about working with clients, is that I get to shed my own stuff too, and just keep, you just keep, what it's interesting because the client, there's always some kind of aspect of
Mhm.
within yourself that there's mirrored, and you help release together. So that's,
Well, and
yeah.
usually the client that shows up for healing is usually a mirror of something you need to look at.
Correct. Yeah.
It happens all the time. I mean, I said when my father died, I had so many clients that first year dealing with grief, and it was just like, all right, I need
Oh.
to work on it. Or, all of a sudden everybody's got like some weird childhood trauma that they want to work on. And it's like, all right, what do I need to work on that I'm not thinking about right now? And then having that reflection, and it's not easy. It's not fun, but it's something that you just have to keep chipping away at. And that's why
Yeah.
I give people the tools to be able to do a little bit on their own. Once they learn it, they can just be their own healer. We all have this ability. We just need to
Yes.
awaken it somehow or learn the tools to do it. But because people come to me wanting to learn how to journey, and I'm like, you can just go on YouTube and it'll take you like 5 minutes. It's really quick. We don't need to have a whole class on this. It's a simple process, but people need the structure. They need to go through the motions of the training. And I had to do the same thing without realizing it. Now looking back, I'm like, yeah, I did the same thing. I didn't know how to
Yeah.
go down this path without having that class first and having an instructor. It's you need to understand. Eventually, it just gets opened, and then you can just do it.
Yeah, I love empowering people to help and be their own, you know, releasing, healing gurus themselves. I actually love, I help people access their own light language as well. And that's really, I love that as a tool for helping people just let go of energy within their body without having to get stuck in the cognitive processes. So let's say, for example, you leave an exchange, or you have this emotional charge because you can feel some kind of contraction in your body, and rather than going like, okay, yeah, I feel frustrated or angry, you can just like release it with light language. Just set the intention, I'd like to release what's in my body through this light language. So it's kind of like a vocal energy technique. I mean,
Mhm.
ancient societies had these rituals. We would be drumming and chanting and singing and wailing and doing all these sort of like techniques to help discharge whatever was in our body. But we don't really have that unless you can drive in your car and sing at the top of your lungs. But if you set the intention, like, I want to release my frustration from the day, or it's quite cathartic
Mhm.
to be able to access these techniques. Yeah, so that's what I like to do, because you just, emotions are normal, as we said. We just got to discharge them.
Nice. And do they need to understand fully what the light language is, or is it more just the intention of using what Peggy put inside me to release this? Does each one have like
Well,
a name or a
well,
symbol,
so
or?
okay, so that's a good question. The way I see it is that we all have access to, and I don't like to call it language, because that's like
Mhm.
somehow like we have to get on Duolingo and like learn German or something, right? We don't, that's like, oh, I want to learn this. Like, no, it's a remembering. So all our soul, it's basically our soul's
Like
language.
alchemy?
Yeah, well, if you think of, we've had like 10,000 lives, or like
Right.
we've spoken many languages, it's kind of like this gibberish with intention. It's just a frequency that comes out of the body. It's like a soul resonance. Your
Mhm.
soul speaking without without cognitive words. So, but there is a technique, and you really have to drop into your heart space. It can't be from your mind. You have to really you have to really, really drop into your heart. So I start with a bit of grounding, meditative practice, connecting to your guides, setting the intention, kind of whatever can be released for my highest good. And people start with usually a little bit of humming, but people are accessing this I like to call it gibberish with intention. And it's like, it sounds fully shamanic to me, like whatever it is, it's coming out. And they remember, they go, oh wow, I used to do this when I was younger. So it's not every single person is ready for that. There's oftentimes I do a lot of throat chakra clearing to access it. Sometimes it's just hand gestures that come out. So it does, yeah. So there's some people it comes out quite naturally, and other people it does take a little while.
Interesting. And going back to your journey as a whole, what was it like when you started making that shift down this path? I mean, did your husband think you were crazy? Did your kids think you were nuts? Like,
Oh yeah.
friends, family, like, how did you, because that happens a lot for people, right? It's usually there's one person in the family that's making this change of some sort of spirituality, some sort of modality, and nobody else in the family understands it. That's been a common theme with a lot of people. But I would say more than not, the family accepts it at the end, but that's not always the case.
Yeah. So what's really interesting, so it was very difficult for my husband, who's very, right, like sort of very analytical in his brain, very agnostic, and really struggled and at the start. But was very supportive of me, and so it was a bit of a shock. So I went from teaching, and then I quit my my counseling and teaching job, and I'm doing this full time. But then I had this backup plan. I could do, I guess, relief teaching, or whatever they call it in the US, supply teaching. I could do casual teaching. I had my registration as a backup plan, but then I got booked out, so I didn't need to use
like
that.
Substitute teacher.
Substitute teaching, that's the word I was forgetting. But I had, my daughters at the time were teenagers, and so it was hard for them. But what I loved, I love to look at it as they're simply just reflections of how I felt about myself. So when I first started the work and I sort of told them what I was doing, so, I had my activation, I guess, in March, and then by September, I was doing one-on-one clients on my own, but working with my mentor all the way through. They're like, what are you even doing? Why? What do you mean you're charging people for that? But it was just a mirror reflection of my innermost doubts about myself. And so I was aware of that. And so I was like, okay, I got triggered, and then I'm like, oh, okay, this is about me. I have to release my doubts. I have to release my fear of being seen. I have to release. So the more I release those wounds of the fear of being seen, the fear of speaking my truth, the more that was reflected back to me as it's okay. Certainly, I mean, my brother, God bless him, he's not interested at all, hasn't asked me very many questions. We're very close, but he just doesn't ask me anything. I told him, and he's like, oh yeah. He's married to a medical doctor. He's a chemical engineer by trade. He's like, not interested. That's okay. My two sisters are like on board. My dad, he's 90. So he's, it's a bit different. It took me a while. I did lose one of my closest friends. She thought I'd lost my head. And that was really tricky. And then, you have different friends that have different interest levels, and some people it's just too far of a stretch. So there has been this, gradual dwindling down of people who I can talk to about what I'm really doing. And that's been a bit sad and hard, but it really is. If I'm worried about somebody's reaction when I haven't seen them in a while, and I would say, look, this is what I'm doing, it usually is reflected back to me, their cynicism, or like, if I just go, it's fine, it'll be fine, then that's usually reflected back to me. It's quite crazy how that happens, actually. So the more that I relax and just, embody this journey, and it's not woo-woo, it is science-based. It's okay, it's normal. The more people are reflecting that back to me. So Yeah. And in fact, I went traveling when I was in Egypt, and then I went to Thailand, and I would just tell people what I did. I wasn't embarrassed. And they always were like, oh, that's so cool. Oh, really? And they asked me all these questions because I just had this, I don't care who these people are. They were lovely. And then they were interested. As soon as I feel like, oh, this guy looks a little conservative, maybe I shouldn't really say. Then, of course, then it becomes awkward, and then they're not interested. But if I just go, yep, this is what I am, there's always some beautiful connection that happens.
Nice.
So, yeah. Yeah. But it has been hard for sure, for absolutely very tricky for, a lot of people going, that's not, well, we all have that. I was like, yeah, we all have that. And so, but that's just your training. That's just your experience. I go, okay, how would I know this stuff? Where would that come from? How do I know this happened to somebody when they were 5 years old? Like, very specific about a detailed. I said, where do you think that comes from? It comes from the cloud. I'm getting emails from the cloud. That's what I say. So yeah, I think that's the kind of, like, if I'm getting information, I go, look, something happened when you were 17. I can feel this shame, and it's stuck in your stomach. And the guy's like, oh yeah, that's when I got a girl pregnant. I had to give the baby up for adoption. I'm like, why would it come in so specifically at 17 and that emotion? I can't make that up.
Yeah, no, it's those things where, like, even when I do like emotion code on people, I'm like, okay, yeah, there's something here that we need to know around the age of 5 or 6. And they're like, dealing with anger or dealing with shame. And they start going into a story, and I'm like, cool. All right, let's clear it. I don't know anything else to tell you. It's just something you needed to know in that moment so that you could fully let it go and be done with it.
Correct. And sometimes you don't get the information, or sometimes they don't know what it is. They don't remember what it is. And I go, you're not meant to know. Don't worry. Other times it's like, okay, there's something stuck in the bottom left hand of your heart. You're 42 years old. Oh yeah, that's when my pet died and I blame myself. It's like, okay, well, that's like, it's, very, very specific. So I don't know how else I can help people understand that are cynical or that don't understand this as a real thing. Like, I know I can't make this up. Like, why would I make this up? It's just the most crazy stuff, right? And what I love is that when you start getting these messages, and they're just coming in as thoughts, and then the client just says, oh yeah, that had, like, 3 other people have told me that. Or I go, why is Raphael here? Oh, I work with Raphael all the time. I go, okay, there you go. That's why Raphael's here. Okay, well, he's here again. So yeah, it just gets confirmed by the client. So
and I think it's becoming more and more accepted these days. Like, people are it's more in the mainstream. It's more on TV shows now. I mean, there was a whole TV show called The Medium like 10, 15 years ago.
I loved that show so much.
There's all these shows now where people are getting messages or talking to the dead or talking to spirits. I think I haven't watched it yet, but I think even on Netflix, there's like it's almost like a competition show with like shamanic healers or different types of healers. I haven't seen it. I've only heard like bits about it, and I'm like, I'm not sure how that's going to work, but
this doesn't feel very aligned. Anyway.
Yeah, and I could be way off the basis of the show. I haven't really looked into it yet, but that was like the key takeaway I got on like a quick thing on Facebook when I was uploading some reels for the podcast. And I'm like, that's weird. I'll look at that later. But it's becoming more and more mainstream, and that's good and bad, right? Because now you have a lot of people pretending to be something they're not, are not truly involved with what they're knowing, just to get that social following. And you've always had, quote unquote charlatans. That's always been a thing. There's always been those people pretending to be healers or snake oil salesmen. Like, we have their names for a reason. But some of that was also, they really were the real thing, but people called them that because they didn't understand it. Science is catching up to it now. We mentioned quantum physics earlier. They're now officially saying that, there are multiple realities. There are multiple timelines.
Yeah.
Shamans have been saying that for thousands of years. It's like,
Yeah.
we know, like, you guys are just realizing it, or we're all made of energy. We're not
Yeah.
actually touching a table when we touch it. There's like thin energetic barrier in between us because it's just energy moving. Nothing is actually physical. It's just energy. That's quantum science now. And that's in almost every healing tradition that's out there is we're made up of energy.
Yeah. I think that the fake, the people that call themselves whatever they're doing, whether it's channeling they probably don't do a good service for other people that are the real deal. I think that's hard because people will say, "Oh, I saw this healer and she charged me all this stuff and nothing changed or worked." And I find that a bit frustrating because they seem to get a lot of views and a lot of followers and it's a bit tricky. But you can lose your gifts as well. Like if you're not in you, so some of these people might have started out as the real deal, but then when the ego takes over and get focused really on money and you forget about this, yes, you're supposed to make money as spiritual gifts. Yes, that's not a bad thing. But sometimes you really get attached to the outcome of popularity and influence, etc. And then all of a sudden, lifestyle, and then all of a sudden you're like you can still be rich you can still have lots of money. I'm not saying you can't have lots of money, but it's more when you get really attached to how you're perceived and your influence and all that, then all of a sudden your third eye, your crown can get cut off. And then they're like, well, I've got these clients and they just channel nothing, or so yeah, that's unfortunate. Or people get attachments. We can see them. We were speaking about this before. Some very famous, very big influencers are covered in stuff, aren't they, Jeremy?
Yeah, no, it's out there. And I mean, and it's not just, the quote unquote spiritual community. I mean, you can look at these big mega churches that are out there. It's like, God told me I needed to have a plane. Did he? God said I needed my Rolls Royce. Did he? So it's not just those on the spiritual side. I mean, it's in every aspect of life. There's somebody who's going to do something. And the entity thing can come on too, based upon the ego, or your protections go low because you no longer think that you need it, because you think that you're resonating at this super high frequency that nothing can get in you and that you're impenetrable. But just thinking that alone can cause you to be penetrable. It's like just thinking that you're the best of the best and no matter what you do, nothing will get you. I mean, that's what happened to me when I was first starting out, going, oh, this stuff's too easy. I guess I just don't have any reason why these things would ever attach to me. It's fine. And then one of them jumped over and I'm like, okay, that's my lesson. Let me continue with everything I used to do, like putting up my projections, calling in my right guides, and putting everything in place before I do any of my work. It's when you stop slacking on that and actually communicating with the spirit realm and keeping that partnership going, like they will leave. It's, I tell people all the time, you don't want to be that neighbor that's always asking to borrow the power tools or asking for a cup of sugar and never giving anything in return. It's the same thing with ancestors and spirit guides. If we're constantly saying, help me, and never giving thanks or gratitude or even a small glass of water on the altar with some incense, something to give them to say thank you, they don't stay around. They're not going to take it.
Yeah. I think those are really good points. I think for me, alignment is the key. And if I'm worried about the like people pleasing, or if I'm worried about the attachment to the outcome, I'm going to get shit on me. Like as soon as I remember one of my first client, like the first few months, and she had told me that she had this channel, like a television channel. And she was like, she has all these, she works with these people. And like, I was like, oh, this would be a good person she'd been doing, she'd been seeing healers for 30 years. And she works with different channelers and blah, blah, and I was like, oh, I have to impress her. Well, it was just like boom. As soon as I was like, oh, please don't tell me all that stuff at the start of a session, because the person that's just trying to build up my self-worth externally, who I was at the very beginning, like I want to be important, I want to help, and then as part of making myself feel good, now I can just usually let go of attachment. So it's harder when you're working with somebody that you really love, or that's why I find it very hard to work with loved ones, or because I'm too attached to the outcome, and I'll just start taking that crap on my body.
Yeah, it took me years to be able to start, even to work on my wife, because I was always attached to the outcome. And then it was like, you're not doing the homework. You're not doing what I'm telling you to do. And then I get frustrated. And I'm like, now I'm at the point where it's like, she's like, oh, can we do something? I'm like, I'm not doing anything unless you agree to do the homework, because I'm going to treat you like a client. You're not willing to do the work that I need to give you when we're done with the session. I will no longer work with you. And here's a list of some friends that I know that will gladly work on you for free, because we do trades with family. Because that's how I did in the beginning was I kept trading with a friend of mine. I would work on her husband. She would work on my wife, because both of us were in that same boat. We got too attached to the outcome versus now. And I tell my students this all the time, where they're practicing extractions and looking for entities and things like that. And they're like, oh, I'm really worried about scanning my wife or my kid or this or that. And it's like, you just got to do it, man. You can't care if they have something or not. You can't care. If it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. If it's there, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't have to have no worry about it, because you have the tools to take care of it. So what does it matter if they do have it? Take care of it, remove it, be done. And then just move on. It takes a while to get to that point. I was the same way, even when my in-person clients was, oh, I got to do a good job. I got to get the referrals. I got to get this. I got to get that.
Yeah.
I got to hope that they like me. Or even when I was practicing for free, and I hope they like it, and I hope they, send me, then you just get stuck in it. Or then you're just waiting for the praise at the end of, oh, I feel great now. Thank you so much. Versus, cool. Did you get what you need? Great. We'll talk in a couple of days, and we'll let this process and just go from there. But it takes time. And I still get a couple every now and then where I'm like, I really want this to work, because I'm tired of seeing this person over and over for the same thing. And then then you dig into it, and it's like, oh, you're not doing the homework. You're not doing the work I'm giving you. This is why we're still here, and we're wasting my time and your money, because I don't want to waste either. And then you have to have that conversation, but it's hard with loved ones versus clients.
Yeah. Well, you feel like you're a very powerful teacher. So your students are lucky to have you, because those are really wise words of wisdom. You got a lot of experience, so it's good.
Yeah. Years and years of experience, and going through, it's like being a parent, right? You're looking at your child going, don't do this, trust me. But then part of you is like, go do it, see what happens. I want you to learn this, because me telling you enough isn't always going to work. Sometimes you have to let them fail in order to succeed. It's the same when I've always been a manager or supervisor in all my jobs, and it's the same thing. Sometimes it's like, just let them fail. Let's see what happens. And sometimes they might surprise you, because they had a better way of doing it that you didn't think was going to work. And then you're like, oh, cool. Show me how to do that now, But you just got to let them fail sometimes.
Yeah. I think that was one of the gifts of being through the spiritual journey that I've been on as a parent, is understanding that those kids my children have signed up for those experiences. So you feel less anxious about them suffering, You're like, oh, that's actually okay. Like we're here to experience these wide range of things. And so a lot of the times that when I'm working with clients with kids, it's that, you just have to allow them to feel pain, and we can't avoid that. And they want to, they chose that. And if you have screwed up as a parent and you have like, guess what? Your kids chose you. My kids chose my flawed self. Like, that's always a bit of a relief that I didn't know what I was doing when the kids were young, for sure. I wish I'd had
Nobody
a
does.
spiritual. Well, there's beautiful spiritual people that have children, and then they have this awareness of consciousness and 0 to 7, and they're like, oh my God, like, wow, how amazing. And they're speaking light language to the kids when they're 2, and they're just like, oh, I didn't do any of that. I was so stressed out. I was so anxious. Anyway, but I just know that my children chose me, and that was the journey that they chose. And like, I can see some of my friends with younger kids, they're getting them understanding their energy bodies, and they're reading people, and this awareness at like 5 or 7, like that's pretty incredible. And now I've got 2 very intuitive, sensitive girls. One is really interested in the work. The other one's like, Mom, don't talk to me about that. Like, I don't want to, but she's like super, super cluey and, intuitive. But anyway, that's her journey. So, but she's totally fine.
Yeah. And I mean, without trauma and pain, as much as it sucks, there is no growth.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to get better if you're not suffering. If you have everything you've ever wanted, if this was the perfect world where we didn't have to worry about money, we could go outside and pluck the newest iPhone from a tree, and everything we ever desired just showed up in our house, like with a replicator or whatever, there would be no suffering and no growth. We wouldn't want to become more, because we would just be here. And we don't want our kids to suffer, or even ourselves, but at the same time, they need it. We need it in order to grow and become better. I never would have went down the shamanic path if I wasn't about to get divorced from my wife, because my life was getting in turmoil from my PTSD, and everything was turning to shit at that moment.
Wow.
I never would have went down this path and worked on myself and realized, oh, there's more to life out there. There's all these things happening. There's a whole nother world within our own world that we just don't see. But it's here. But without that suffering, I never would have went down this. I would have stayed with my 9-to-5 job, going to work, doing the motions, not caring, paying the bills, not doing this at all. But we have
I have been in moments of existential terror and dark night of the soul where I've just gone, why have I gone through this spiritual journey? This just sucks. It's so bad. Why? It's so hard. I know. And I go, oh my God. I know I still have it. It happens a lot. And because if you just sit in the raw emotion and feeling, like sometimes it's so much, right? And this need to surrender. Oh my God, just give me the knowing, like, they're like, oh, surrender. Oh, okay. I know. All right. I'll surrender to the unknown. Thanks for that very tough spiritual lesson again. So yeah, it is, it's not for the faint hearted. But yeah, it's becomes the gift though, is when you're sitting, when you're sitting with this client, or I can, like, before a session, I can tune into their energy, and I cannot believe how beautiful these souls are. And sometimes I just cry because I just go, oh my God, universe, you've sent me another beautiful client. And I'm just in this awe, this awe and gratitude that I can't believe this is what I get to do. It's a real privilege, to be able to do that. So that's the very first night I worked with a client, and I just cried and went, thank you. I finally worked out what I want to do. I knew there was something else, but I didn't know what it was. Like, I kept going down these paths, and it was just like, no, do I take that course? No, do I take that? And nothing really resonated. And somebody just said to me, oh, you're going to be tapped on the shoulder. And that's exactly what happened. And so that's how it all unfolded.
And it can still change again. I mean, we were talking before the recording started, is I've been using my same modality for a while now, and this whole year was like, there's got to be a faster way. There's got to be something new I can add to this. There's got to be a way to do more than one person at a time. And then all of a sudden it was like, here. And then I start working on this other modality, and it's like, this is the missing piece to make these other things faster. It's not replacing, it's not getting rid of what I've already known. It's like, how can I combine these two to make it even stronger and more solid foundation, still using the same lineage and guides from this one. And now I have this whole another section over here. So it's like now I'm using both to make things even quicker and faster and more efficient. And that took years before that even showed up. But it was one of those, hey, look over here, look at this, look at this. And it's like, oh, okay, let me look at this. And then it's like, all right, let me try it. Let's see how it goes. So it definitely shifts so many times.
Yeah, every day. You never know what's going to show up. You just never know. This is what I love about this work. Beautiful surprises every single day.
Oh yeah. And before we wrap it up, though, because I'm looking at the time, I guess for someone who's just starting out on this journey, not sure what they should do, not sure where they should go, or even how to perhaps deal with their family who doesn't recognize what they're trying to do or doesn't agree with them, what advice would you give somebody just starting out?
You mean in the they want to be a healer, or or they're sort of looking down alternative pathways to alternative like.
That's a good point. I guess someone who's trying to find their gifts, trying to figure out what they should do.
Yeah, so I think meditation is like just sitting in stillness and breath work and connecting and grounding, like just even whether if you're in the winter and you can't get your feet on physical ground, but just intentionally connecting to the earth and drawing up this beautiful Mother Gaia energy, because to go really high, we have to be super grounded below. So, sitting in that quiet meditative state and just, is there a message for me today? I find it hard to get messages for myself, but just as a caveat, like not everybody, you're not always going to get messages. And sometimes your messages are a little bit wonky. Like you might not have the correct guides, which is you might need Jeremy to help clear some of your entities, or I say hijacking technologies and the communication lines. That's what so I think meditation is a good way, is just that stillness and connecting. I think people who might be on this journey are already doing that. There's so many courses online, connecting to different meditation groups. Like I'm starting next week, starting a 7-week chakra clearing course, but I have monthly meditation groups. You just have to go with your gut instinct with what resonates and who resonates for you. You people just know when they see me on YouTube, they just go, I just knew I wanted to book with you. It's the same with my friend. They go, oh, I just wanted to book with her. You just have this gut feeling and knowing, I see Jeremy, I want to book a session with Jeremy. I just know he's the real deal. And this is who I want to, like, there's something familiar about him. You've got to start really tuning into what your voice is telling you. And release resentment, anger, fear, just let it go. Because the more you hold on to those lower based emotions, the less access you have to your intuitive gifts. Shadow work is so key to accessing your intuitive gifts. It's like all the mud on the bottom of the pond. Like you just got to keep clearing it out. And the more you clear out resentment, the more you sit in forgiveness, the more that you sit in the frequency of love, the greater access you have to your heart space, the greater connection you have to your intuitive gifts. So it starts with the work, the shadow work. That's where I always say, like, the people that have seen me have done all this work, or they've had many lifetimes. And in this lifetime, they're just like, wow, you are so centered and, grounded. So that's what I see.
Nice. Yeah. The shadow work's the most important. It's the hardest one to do, but it is necessary to be able to look at yourself, be honest with what's really going on, be honest with, like we talked about, the desire of what you're trying to get and why, and being okay with the outcome. Like there's nothing wrong that says I'm doing this for this person's approval or this person's love or because I want to feel better about myself. Those are all legitimate answers if they're the truth. And if you're okay with that answer, then that's fine. But you really just got to look at the true reason of why you're doing what you're doing. And find a way to be okay with it or change it, but you
Yeah.
can't do that until you acknowledge it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that the biggest the biggest hurdle for people to access their full range of gifts is really just the shadows and the emotional blocks, those deep-seated emotional blocks that are still stuck in there. So that's where I think like the shamanic clearing, the chakra clearing, and sometimes it's hard to do on your own. You need a group, or you need a facilitator or somebody to help you shift and stuff within your body. That's how you start.
Yeah, I tell people this, like, find the person you resonate with,
Yeah.
find the modality that works for you. I said, it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be me, but it's fine if it's not. Some people would rather be with, someone like yourself. They might want the woman versus the man, and that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
with me at least, I have no ego with that, because it's like I can
No.
refer you to plenty of people. That's fine. Like,
Yeah.
go to who resonates with you, because it makes the most sense. Like,
Yeah.
maybe my story doesn't connect with you, but someone else's story does. That's fine. That's your medicine.
Yeah. And
You're
I refer people to other practitioners if I
like,
think that they have a set of skills that I don't have. I got no problem with that. And I go and do this guy's, go and check out this guy's YouTube. He's really good. Or he's got free meditations. Like I'm
yeah.
trying to help people access whatever they can. It's not, I might have no affiliation with that person. I just go, yeah, this guy's good or whatever. So I just get that intuitive hit that person needs that. So I'm bad at saying you need another 3 sessions with me, because if they do, I'm like, well, maybe we didn't finish and you could come back. But generally I'm trying to just work with their highest good, which you hope just comes back, because I'm just being authentic and in integrity. If you're not in integrity, then you're out of alignment.
Yeah, and that's the hard business model too, right? Because I'm the same way. It's like, I shouldn't have to see you again after max 4 sessions at the max. Like,
Yeah,
usually one's not enough. 2, 3 is usually that sweet spot, depending on what we're
I
working
agree.
on. Now,
Yeah.
if it's like really deep rooted PTSD or something, I have like an 8-week program for that, because there's a lot of different little pieces we need to
One.
work on for
And you have to
really
go
severe
gentle.
trauma. Yeah.
You have to
Take our
gently, yeah.
time. And a lot of that's grounding meditations,
Yeah.
regulating their nervous system before we can even really get into the true healing. And that
Yeah.
takes time for some people. But for the most part, for an average person, you shouldn't come back to me for the same problem, once we're done. And
Yeah.
I don't want you to. And that's
Correct. Yeah.
like,
And I've had problems working with business coach, because he's like, oh no, you got to do the funnel. You got to do this. I'm like, you have to do it. And I'm like, yeah, really? I have to come up with an offering. I'm like, yeah, my offerings come in channeled. I can't just do something to go, this is how I'm going to make money. It has to come in usually in the middle of the night. I have to get up and then I write it all down and I go, oh, this is what I'm going to do. I can't just do these funnels. Or I had to fire my business coach, because I'm like, no, my brain, I think my guides are my business coach. I just have to trust it like that.
yeah, I had the same thing. It's like, oh, make one offer about this only, and then do your sales funnel and this and that. And I'm like, I do more than just one thing. Like, that's okay. Like, not everyone who's going to come to me wants to do ancestral work. And I would personally get bored if all I did was one specific thing over and over and over. I like to know that, oh, this person needs a soul retrieval. This person needs a chakra clearing. This person just needs to learn how to regulate their nervous system. This person needs to work on unblocking their crown chakra, because that's what's really stuck for them. It's hard to pinpoint just one repetitive over and over and over thing. It's just, to me, that's not fun or entertaining. Or only doing entity work. Like, entity work is fun. I enjoy extracting and helping people with that. But if that's all I did 8 hours a day, I would no longer enjoy it. Like, then I'm just working at a 9 to 5 again. To me, that's not enjoyable.
No. Yeah. Each soul is unique, so you get to just cater for each individual. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, every session's different, even with the same person. Every session's different.
Yeah.
So, while we wrap up, why don't you let people know where they can find you? I'll make sure all your information's in the show notes and all that stuff as well, too.
Thank you. So I have a website, peggyo.com.au. And I'm on Instagram, Peggy Oberthier. And I also have a YouTube channel, Peggy Oberthier Medical Intuitive. And I haven't, it's, as you know, YouTube's it takes up a lot of work and time. And so I go through moments of interviewing people and then periods where I'm too to do it because editing, I'm not very good at it. I have found a lovely video editor. I'm doing some exchanges with him. So watch that space. My YouTube channel is going to look a lot better and have a few more people on it and hopefully grow. But yeah, there's some interesting interviews on there. So if you're interested in having a look, yeah, that's where you can find me.
Nice. I appreciate your time today. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeremy. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you and such a like-minded, beautiful soul.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if something our guests shared resonated with you, connect out to them. That's what these stories are here for. And if you're looking for deeper healing or support, you can always find me at pnwshamanichealing.com. See you in the next episode.